Right now, a family is in mourning and a man is in custody charged with causing this deadly 7-car crash you see behind me there. This story is absolutely heartbreaking, and it is also raising questions about how that man was on the road in the first place. Our Michelle Choi explains.
Hey guys, this morning there's a growing memorial for that family and a growing number of questions about why that driver was still behind the wheel when the wreck happened. Teddy bears, flowers, and words of condolence mark the spot of this tragedy on FM 2920. Harris County Precinct 4 Constable Mark Herman says the driver, 35-year-old suspect Daniel Canada, slammed into the back of the family's car around 8:30 Sunday night, starting a chain reaction crash involving at least 7 cars. A mom and 3 kids died, and Precinct 4 says that driver, seen here from a previous arrest, is now charged with multiple counts of intoxication manslaughter.
A possible suspected impaired driver who basically snuffs a family out of existence.
We've learned Canada was pulled over along this stretch of the North Freeway after passing a Harris County Sheriff's deputy at a high rate of speed less than 30 minutes before the crash, not far from the wreck. The constable's office says Canada's blood alcohol level was 0.15 after the fatal crash, nearly twice the legal limit. But according to a statement, quote, the deputy reported that the driver displayed no outward signs of impairment and was released from custody. The Sheriff's Office's Internal Affairs Bureau is also looking into the traffic stop to determine whether deputies follow policy. Guys.
Michelle, this is just a terrible story that you're covering this morning. Thank you. And we wanted to let you know that we have requested more information on that initial traffic stop. And we will share that information with you once we get it into our newsroom, and we will post that and the latest updates on KHOU.com. And we will also send them right to your phone with the KHOU 11 mobile app. So make sure you have that downloaded. And another thing we are watching, Xavier, those stimulus checks, of course.
Oh, absolutely, Steph. Those are making their way into people's bank accounts this week. And if you haven't gotten yours yet, the IRS, has a way for you to track it. It's called Get My Payment Tool. And if you enter your personal information online, and the tracker will tell you the payment date and also the method. And if you see payment status not available, if you see that pop up, that means the IRS has not processed your payment just yet, or you're not eligible. And while those checks are going out, the White House kicked off its Help Is Here tour. Now, top officials are traveling the U.S. to play up key parts of the COVID-19 relief bill. They're focusing on vaccine distributions, reopening schools, and help for small businesses.
Together, we're going to make sure that the benefits of the American Rescue Plan go out quickly and directly to the American people where they belong.
And for everything you need to know about the relief bill and the stimulus checks, just text that word MONEY to 713-526-1111, and we'll text you back with helpful links to information on who gets a check and when you may get one. Another big story out of Washington this morning and here at home, a growing crisis involving children at our southern border.
Coming up on CBS this morning, Maria Villarreal spent some time with law enforcement to get a first-hand look. She joins us live this morning in Donna, Texas. Maria, good morning. What are you seeing there?
Well, good morning. Right now, we're actually standing in front of a processing facility for migrants. It is temporary, but we wanted to understand exactly what these families are going through once they cross into the U.S. So we embedded with local constables. I mean, these guys don't have the authority to detain migrants, but what they are seeing every day is hundreds of men, women, and children crossing into the U.S. illegally. Then they're having to push them towards these federal staging areas that are underneath bridges because there is such an overwhelming influx of migrants right now.
Maria, what have people said to you about why they're crossing the border?
You know, we spent about 3 hours with these constables yesterday, and just in those 3 hours, we saw roughly about 50 people or so cross into the U.S. illegally and then move towards the staging areas. And these families are basically telling us that they have no other choice but to come here, that what is happening in their countries is way worse than what they are having to deal with on their journey to the U.S. They are desperate. Their level of desperation is at an all-time high. A lot of them have also told us that they have this, they've been told on their journey that right now is the time for them to cross, that the laws have changed, which we all know they really haven't changed. What has changed are administrations. So for them, they feel like this is the best time where they will get the most compassion as they come into the U.S. and they're willing to take that chance and trek through this very dangerous situation. We also saw just to kind of note, a lot of children by themselves. It was a very heartbreaking situation for all of us that were covering this yesterday. So a lot of that we will have in our reporting for CBS this morning.
Oh, Maria, it is truly heartbreaking. You worry about the health and safety of those children. Thank you so much. We're going to be watching this story closely here in Houston, and you can watch Maria's full story coming up on CBS this morning. It starts at 7 right after H-Town Rush. Well, from the border to Minneapolis, where we are waiting to see if Derek Chauvin's trial will move forward.
Yeah, Chauvin is the former police officer charged in the death of Houston native, Third Ward native George Floyd. Jennifer Austin is outside the courthouse in Minneapolis this morning.
This comes after the announcement Friday that the city of Minneapolis reached a $27 million settlement with George Floyd's family. It is the largest police settlement in the city's history, potentially the largest in the country's history for a case of this kind. And Chauvin's attorney says the announcement, made in the middle of jury selection, is grounds for a delay. Chauvin's attorney says the city's settlement will taint the jury pool. He made other requests to the judge, including a change of venue and demanding jurors be immediately sequestered. Prosecutors, meanwhile, say they have no control over the separate civil case and that it shouldn't stop jury selection. Judge Cahill seemed to commit to one thing. He said he might bring back the 7 jurors seated before news of this settlement broke to make sure that announcement didn't taint their opinion. In Minneapolis, I'm Jennifer Austin. Back to you.
All right, Jennifer, thank you so much. And we're going to be following this trial every step of the way as things really start to develop. We'll send alerts straight to your phone through the KHU 11 app. And Steph, so many people here in Houston will be watching that later today.
Of course, yeah. And there's another big story that a lot of people are tracking as well. What is happening with Houston's police chief?
Houston's police chief Art Acevedo leaving for a job in Miami. He's expected to speak here in Houston later this morning on why he made this decision. The mayor says he'll have an announcement on new leadership at HPD by the end of the week.
Investigators have new theories about the violence during the Capitol riot, including the attack on Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick. 2 men are under arrest charged with assaulting him with bear spray. Officer Sicknick later died. Newly released court documents say the 2 men planned to attack police.
As evidence comes in and as people cooperate, there will be more arrests and there will be more serious charges coming out of this, no doubt.
New details on the motive in the Christmas Day Nashville bombing. The man who blew himself up in an RV was driven by paranoia and conspiracy theories. The FBI says the man chose the location and timing to make sure the explosion was impactful, but minimized the chance of, quote, undue injury.
The integrity of elections in 2020 were questioned right here in Harris County with the mail-in ballot application process.
Governor Abbott promoted his new voting laws here in Houston. The law would make curbside voting an option only for those with disabilities, but critics call this legislation voter suppression.
SB 7 is a solution in search of a problem, and worse than that, it weaponizes our election system against our own voters.
All right, at 6:41, taking a live look now at Kemah. Check out, wow. Yeah, you could really see that fog. Gina, what's one thing we need to know about today?
Well, take a look at it. You can see in Kemah, and it's really all of our coastal areas. That is who is under that dense fog advisory. So this is really day number 2 that we are dealing with some dense fog, especially areas south of I-10, patchy fog. Once you head north of I-10, we're also tracking rain chances. We'll talk more about your rain chances.